Fork over your emails. So says Angelina Jolie to Brad Pitt. Who's in the wrong here? We got Christopher Melcher to break it down. Welcome to Popcorn Planet. I am Andy Signor, and the case continues. Christopher, are you surprised that we're still at this Angelina-Brad battle, where now Brad's slamming Angelina for saying that her intrusive demands are out of line? They now want his private emails, all in this $350 million court battle over the winery. Welcome back. Always glad to have you here. I wanted to keep people informed on this update because, as we've always sort of stood, this case should just be over by now. It's just crazy. It seems crazy to the kids that this is still all going on. But now she's demanding emails. Where do you stand on this? Does she have a right to that? Is this intrusive? When do you get to sort of just have to fork over all your privacy in these cases? What's the line? What typically happens? And who do you think's in the right here? I'd love your thoughts.
Sure. Well, this is the case that never ends. And what the dispute is over the sale by Angelina Jolie of her 1/2 interest in this French winery. And so, they make rosé there, and it's been called the War of the Rosés. And we have now these two people fighting incessantly in court because they co-own this winery. And Brad says the intention was for this to be part of their legacy and passed down to their children. And when the couple broke up and were getting into this divorce proceedings and everything like that, she ended up selling her half, rejecting his bid to buy out her half, and sold it to this Russian oligarch who is part of the Stoli brand, Avaka, and now Brad's got an involuntary hostile partner. So the only issue in this case is whether Angelina Jolie had a legal right to sell her half, or was she required to kind of give Brad the opportunity to buy it first? It's a simple legal question. It's complicated because their paperwork wasn't done very well, and there's also international aspects to this thing. So that's really the focus for a judge or jury to decide. But what Angelina's been doing is saying, hey, I've been abused on this plane in 2006, and somehow she's trying to relate that incident into her justification for selling her half of the winery. I personally don't see it. She hasn't really made a coherent connection between those two things, but she's saying that's part of my case. And since it's part of my case, Judge, I want all evidence regarding the 2006 plane incident. Now, Brad has turned over some of that evidence. He was never criminally charged. He was, CPS or Child Protective Services investigated. It's unfounded. So she's, pursuing this thing. She can't let it go. And what her current request is to get the emails that Brad sent to his advisors or friends, confidants after that incident about, did he admit to doing it? Did he say that he needed therapy for alcoholism or, any anger management or anything like that? She wants to get this to show that he's made admissions that he had a problem, or maybe more importantly, something happened on that plane. Brad's saying, look, this was so long ago, it has no real connection to this. This is highly intrusive. He offered to provide some evidence, but not just a wholesale look at his email account. And she says, no, I want everything. So now that's going to go to court.
So, and then the judge, that's what I've always wondered, when a case like this comes, we want to see all the emails. It's a big ask, right? So what usually deems that, and how do you protect your own rights? How does Brad protect his rights to not have all his emails picked through and used for their narrative? What is usually the rule there?
Well, the problem is when you're in court, in the United States, and you're subject to what we call discovery, you have to turn over a lot of information. That's just the cost of being a litigant, whether you're suing or being sued. And the test there for what we again call discovery or exchange of information is not whether it's going to be admissible, or it's not whether it's going to prove absolutely her case. The test is more broad. Is this reasonably calculated to lead to evidence that's going to be helpful to her? So most judges err on the side of saying, hey, this is her theory, good or bad. She has a right to develop that evidence and consider whether it's going to be used or not. There would certainly be a protective order in place that would say that she and her team are precluded from releasing this information to the public. Yeah, right. But that would be a condition. And so there would be this order saying, most likely, Brad, you're going to have to turn over some of your emails, not probably everything, but some emails certainly are going to have to be turned over. They're going to be subject to an order for her not to release this information. And then we'll wait for the headlines to see what those emails said.
Yeah, it makes me think of the Johnny Amber situation where his got leaked somehow. We are always still trying to figure out how the hell that happened. But then Amber never had to do the same. It's like, why wasn't she forced to act? Because I'm sure if we got those emails or texts, we would have learned something out of it. It's always strange to me how some of them do, and then some of them manage to say, nope, not going to get involved. But in this case, you do think Brad might have to start delivering some of this stuff, which is frustrating because it sounds like he wants nothing to do with this. Sounds like this has nothing to do with this, but it's gonna continue. This war of rosés is now going to exploit that. I mean, there's other theories now. His worst nightmare is his children doing a tell-all. And it does feel like there's a narrative out there in the media. He has visitation with his younger kids, but no contact with his adult kids. And then here's Angelina getting a photo op, walking outside some sushi restaurant. Clearly known pops are going to catch him. You know, do you think this is all part of it still? Is this PR, you think, part of the battle for Angelina as well?
Well, absolutely. It's been a PR battle for a long time, and these seem like placed stories, and it's all anti-Brad. So he's certainly not placing them, so that would implicate her. And again, it's just move on, and whatever happened. Even if the plane incident happened exactly the way Angelina described it, that's 2006. Move on with your life. And
yeah, well, and the other side of that coin is the fact that she's a parental alienator, which has been coming out from the other side. And we had a security guard admitting this, which is a big thing to say that she's out there souring the kids to hate on Brad. Can that come out? Can he then, make the same request via her emails if he has to provide his?
Well, possibly, if that would be his counter move. And again, this is just so toxic. And ultimately, time, is the best judge here of what happened, including for the kids. And, we don't know exactly what's going on in these dynamics in the relationship here, but, certainly parents can influence a child's view of the other parent. Now, sometimes that's because something happened, so one theory is that he's a bad parent and that's why these kids are rejecting him. The other theory is that he's a good parent, but that she is so angry at him and spiteful that she will turn her own children against him just to get even with him, even though that is abusive towards that child because it deprives the child of a healthy relationship with that good parent. Again, we don't know. The evidence will come out. But ultimately time will be the judge of this thing. And I've been, kind of lawyer for 30 years now. I've seen, little babies all of a sudden to adults here and gone through alienation and sometimes reconciliation with a parent. And, once they become adults, then, maybe they reevaluate things, but it's a absolute disgrace that the case would go on so long and implicate now the children. And again, it's just time to heal, move forward.
Yeah, sad indeed, but always a pleasure to have you here as we break this down. Always the best option, divorce, is do what's best for the kids, but that's always used, even weaponized as well, but they don't like all this public battling, I'm sure of it. Make sure you follow Christopher Melcher over at _divorce. Always a pleasure and an honor to have him here. Thank you, sir. Stay tuned. Make sure by hitting that subscribe button, hit the bell for alerts, smash that thumbs up, and leave your comments down below to stay on top of this story and so many other pop culture stories here on Popcorn Planet. Appreciate you guys choosing us, watching us, and stay tuned for more.